What's up, CHFFL, and welcome to part 2 of the 2020 Outlooks. Of course, in part 1 we got through 6 teams out of 12, and to do a quick recap of where we are there, this is the tier list. Wes is up in the A tier all alone until today. We'll add some more. Swan and Minnie in the B+ tier on the cusp of making the playoffs. Brad and Marty right behind them, and poor old Stan down in C+ range. Today we're going to start by looking at Roy. Roy's VC is 320, and if for some reason you came here instead of watching part 1 first, be sure to go check how I come across the VC numbers, how I calculate them, and remember that the average VC for the league was 300. So, looking at Roy's draft board, it seems like he picked up an extra 4th from Brad, an extra 8th, but he lost his 7 and 10, so pretty good board, a little extra depth there. Looking at his keepers, the standout is Chris Godwin, who I think may be the best value keeper in the league this year. A top of the second round guy in PPR, and Roy can keep him with pick 92. That's incredible value. Cortland Sutton, pretty good. And I think, remember, these rankings are from early June. I think Sutton's actually moved up a little bit since then, so good value there. And Hunter Henry. Definitely I would keep him. I like the idea of keeping tight ends the more I think about it, and then you don't have to worry about where you're going to pick one. You just already have that slot secured. So I'm putting Roy in the A- tier, even though he has the 3rd highest VC in the league. Last year I had him, I think, number 2, and he kind of burned me, but that still puts him solidly making the playoffs. Like Wes, I'd be surprised if he misses 2 years in a row with a great start, but see what happens. Let's move on to our boy Big Paw. Big Paw's VC is 264, just a little above Stan's, down there at the bottom of the league. Looking at his draft board, a lot of the VC is because he went with pick 12. We at the bottom of the draft board, little good news is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Kansas City is going to be shooting up probably to a late first round pick, which bumps us up one more tier. Parker's missing his 4th and 6th in addition to having the late first round, so a little bit of trouble there. And then looking at his keepers, the good one is Derrick Henry. You can have him in the 3rd round, which does he have? Yeah, and he's positioned perfectly with the last pick in the 3rd round to keep Henry, so that gives him that extra top tier guy, and then he can take the 2 at the turn of picks 12 and 13. So that'll help him a good bit. I still think with the lack of depth and everything, Parker's going to be down in the C+ range with Stan. But every year Parker seems to make a move of things. Moving on to Mark. VC is 315, up in that higher tier. I'm looking at his draft board. He's in the middle with pick 6 overall. Everything unchanged until you get to an extra 7th, so solid. And then looking at Mark's keepers, he actually has a decision to make. Chubb seems very obvious, and then whether he's going to take Russell Wilson, who has the big difference, I probably wouldn't. I'd wait for the quarterback. I would probably try and take Kenny Golladay and Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's going to want to trade to get an extra 4th somehow, so that because they both are keepers in the 4th round. If he does that, though, you're looking at already having a low-end RB1 and 2 of those low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 guys before you even start drafting in a pretty decent draft slot. I'm putting Mark high. I like his keepers. I like his draft board is undisturbed, and quite frankly, I think he's my favorite position I'd want to be in right now. He, Wes, Roy, and one more we're going to get to are all kind of at the top, but Mark's my number 1 this year. Moving on to Grant, his VC is 319 in between Mark and Roy. Looking at his draft board, you got pick 5 overall. Got that extra 3rd from Marty, very nice. Got an extra 4th, and then swapped his 4th, extra 7. He's just loaded with picks. That's how you trade for the future. We're going to see if it's going to pay off for him. Scary Terry, I think, is his best keeper. Didn't do as well in keepers as he did in draft picks. And as I said before I started part 1's video, the keepers start to matter for me a little more, which is why even with all those picks, I'm putting Grant down in the A- tier. I actually had him in the A tier before I did the video on VC, and I thought more about how keeper value is going to shift. I bumped him down from A to A-, but I still like Grant quite a bit. And you know, he plays hard, he keeps up to date on stuff, he's willing to make moves. So yeah, I like Grant as a playoff team this year. Let's talk about me. My VC is really low, 261. I'm right down there with Stan and Parker. A lot of that is that I went with pick 11. I probably should have gone with pick 9, but as I said with the Kansas City news, could end up being the right choice for me. I think there's a cutoff around 14 or 15 overall, and I didn't want to be behind that with my second pick. I'm missing I know I'm missing 7, 9, and 11. I need to trade for an 11th because one of my keepers, Devontae Parker, I could keep back there right now. I'd have to use the 10th on him, but that's pretty solid. These are the best keepers I've had. Austin Eckler, keeping him at the end of the third, I'm pretty happy with and obviously going to do. And then I'm probably going to make Tyler Lockett the last one. I feel like there are not 3 more players than my 3 keepers who get more negative news and people saying that they're overvalued. But that's, I guess, the good thing about keeping them is it doesn't cost me what their price is. I'm putting me in the B- tier. I think I can make a couple of pick trades to compensate for my VC being low. And I just have a good feeling. I like my position. I like the way that the draft projections right now are lining up for me to get my pick at 11 and 14. So maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but they're my rankings. And if I want to put myself in the B tier, I get to do it. And last but least, we have Max. Max's VC is 264, and that is entirely because he has the number 2 overall pick. He's missing his 4th, and he really doesn't have any keepers to speak of. Mostert and John Brown, when you start keeping guys who are back in the 70s, the fact that there's a nice difference from where they're ranked is just not that big of a deal. So Max has a loss on picks, a loss on keepers, but that number 2 keeps him in there. I don't think that having the number 2 overall is going to be enough for him, at least at the start of the year. I have Max as the lowest in the league at C. Sorry, buddy. Shouldn't have traded Mahomes. The summary, I'm going to just have this printout available for the Brads when they pick our conferences. But I wanted to compare what my ranks were versus what the VC rank is overall. Mostly, I'm pretty close. The 2 biggest differences are Mark, who I put above Wes Grant, Roy, and Minnie too. So big gap there. And Minnie, who I put way lower. I pretty much switched Mark and Minnie. And then this might be a helpful cheat sheet for the guys picking the conferences. It just is that VC calculation ranked down. So I hope you guys enjoyed the outlooks. I hope you're excited to get into conference selection, keeper selection, making some trades before the draft. It's that time. It's that time to get excited and hope that we actually play football. I'll be seeing you soon.